Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County meeting. This date, Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. I am Randy Guy, President of Commissioners of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown, Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. Mike Alderson Jr.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Scott Ostro.
Good morning.
Seated next to Commissioner Ostro at the end of the dais is David Weisskopf, our County Administrator.
Morning.
On my immediate right is Julia Birch, our Recorder for today. Sitting at the table to my right is your Communications Director, Jenna Guzman.
Good morning.
Our video and media production team is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. And when you come to the presenter's table, please come down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. In other words, look good. At this time, please stand for the invocation and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, we bless our county, these commissioners, that we do the right thing for all the people of St. Mary's County. So please put your blessing on us today and make sure everybody is safe going home. And for those of you that know this weather's coming, please do what you need to stay home and stay off the streets so we can get it clear for you. Amen. Next pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please have your seats. At this time, I need a motion to
So moved.
approve the consent
Second.
agenda. I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next we have a proclamation for National Engineers Week. I have a whole list of people that are involved in this. Please come forward.
Come up and stay with me towards the front. Are you speaking right up here? Yep, you can go right. Good, okay. All right, so you're gonna stay straight. You're gonna turn slightly this way. Can you a little bit forward? Yeah. Scooch in. So essentially this, scooch in. Here. Students, you're in the back around there. Come around to the front.
I've seen all Texas Tech.
Okay. So we're gonna have you guys slide a little bit to this side so that let him come in behind you. There we go. Okay, and you're our teacher from the tech center. I'm gonna have you come around too. Yeah, there we go. Actually, right there on the end is good. Can you see?
I'm going to let you hold the proclamation, okay? Right now, that's the actual proclamation, okay?
Straight right there.
We have a lot of engineers in our county, no doubt about it. and a lot of future ones coming up. That's what's so great about it. Whereas engineers are the architects of innovation, leveraging their expertise, creativity, and scientific knowledge to address the challenges of our modern world. And whereas engineers play a pivotal role in shaping our society, from designing sustainable infrastructure to revolutionizing technology, making engineering a cornerstone of progress and driving advancements across sectors. And whereas engineers is often referred to as the invisible or stealth profession, because while nearly everything around us has been engineered in some way, we often don't see or know about the engineer behind the scenes. And whereas the 2025 theme for National Engineering Week, E-Week, Design Your Future, is both a call to action and acknowledgement of the infinite possibilities in engineering. And whereas eWeek aims to foster a diverse and well-educated future engineering workforce by raising awareness of an interest in engineering careers, while also promoting the importance of technology and mathematical education. And whereas we honor the efforts of our Department of Public Works and Transportation, the College of Southern Maryland, and all the organizations and educational institutions in St. Mary's County that promote the importance of engineering and in nurturing a skilled workforce. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim February 16th through the 22nd, 2025, National Engineers Week in St. Mary's County, and encourage all citizens to learn more about the critical role that engineers play in shaping our collective future. This date, February 11th, 2025. Passed on first to the engineer in charge of our Department of Public Works.
And transportation. I'd just like to thank the commissioners for recognizing Engineering Week. We live in a great place in the country. This is full of engineers. So just like to say thank you. You've got a lot of people from the Public Works, your horizontal construction, vertical construction, shoreline stabilization, the MS4 Clean Up the Bay program. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Christine Owens with the College of Southern Maryland. My role is a coordinator for our wonderful program we have called the Southern Maryland Engineering Partnership. It's an amazing pathway for engineers to take by starting at CSM for 2 years. They then can transfer to the University of Maryland's Clark School of Engineering, which we are lucky to have right here in St. Mary's County, the SMART building, where engineers that are mechanical or electrical can finish their 4-year degree through the Clark School of Engineering. And then we partner with NOC AD, who comes alongside our students and gives them an opportunity to have their education paid for. It's an amazing journey that I get to work with these students, and we get to have fun. We're making engineering fun at CSM, so we would love to have anybody interested to join us at CSM. Just contact me. We have our Night of Engineering coming up, which is a wonderful night on March 24th. For anybody interested in what we offer at CSM, we have a really robust program, and we're building it every day. So I brought with me 2 engineers, if they could just introduce themselves real quick.
Hi, my name is Itai Hach. I am a mechanical engineering major. I've lived here 3 years now as an active duty service member for the U.S. Navy, and I'm excited to continue my education.
Hello, my name is Adeline McKay. I'm also a mechanical engineering student. I've lived in this county my whole life, and I graduated from Leonardtown High School in 23.
Thank you so much, Commissioners, for this honor. It's great.
And I'm going to hand it off to you. I'll hold that for you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. My name is Robert Kosich. I'm a first-year student at the James A. Forrest Career and Technology Center. And on behalf of the engineering program, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the commissioners for their insightful proclamation, which underscores the pivotal role of engineering within our community. This recognition holds special significance for us as high school students, poised to become the future innovators and problem solvers of our county and nation. This proclamation serves as both an inspiration and a reminder of the essential contributions engineering makes in shaping our world.
Hi, my name is Anna Hare, as well a student at the James A. Forrest Career and Technology Center. We are privileged to have access to the invaluable resources such as the Tech Center's engineering class, which offers students practical experience and exposure to real-world engineering challenges. The Forrest Career Center further enriches our education by providing apprenticeship opportunities with numerous county contractors, allowing students to gain hands-on experience and insight into the industry. Many of our peers continue their education post-graduation and return to contribute to our community's growth and development. We sincerely thank you once again for your unwavering support and recognition.
Thank you very much. Now, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pass around everybody. I want you to introduce yourself and just have a brief idea of what you're doing right now as far as studying or whatever, or what kind of engineer you might be. Understand we have the largest number of aerospace engineers right here in St. Mary's County, almost anywhere in the country. So it's amazing. And, of course, we thank Pax River for their partnership and everything, what they've done to increase our engineering capacity.
Hello, my name is Ava Guevara. I'm a third-year student in the engineering program as a directed study student, and my interest is a major in aerospace engineering.
Hi, my name is Alexander Delahaye. I'm a second-year student at the James A. Forrest Career and Technology Center in engineering, and I hope to be a mechanical engineer when I get older.
Hello, my name is Colton Longbardy. I'm also in this engineering program. I'm a year 2 student, and I wish to become a mechanical engineer when I finish this program.
I'm Nathan Swick. I'm the instructor at the Tech Center.
I'm Charlie Bates. I'm a first-year student at the James A. Forrest Career and Technology Center, and I hope to study civil engineering in college.
My name is Charles Watts, and I'm also a first-year student at the James A. Forrest Career and Technology Center, and I look to become a marine engineer in the future.
Kim Connor. I work for the Department of Public Works and Transportation. I'm project manager, and I work with marine construction and living shorelines.
My name is Alan Settle, and I'm with the Department of Public Works and Transportation, project engineer, and work mostly on roadway projects in the county.
Dylan Payne. I'm with the Department of Public Works and Transportation. I'm the MS4 program manager, dealing with stormwater.
I'm Margaret Oliver. I'm an engineer 1 with DPW.
I'm Benjamin Clark. I'm a project manager 3 with the Department of Public Works, working on county facilities.
I'm Jesse Harper. I'm an engineer 3 with DPW&T.
Did we get everybody? Okay. All right, thank you all for being here. We're going to look good and get here. I want you to get you to hold this. Thank you everybody for being here today. You need to squeeze, look straight ahead, smile, and look good.
Yeah, Diane's out today. Yep.
Oh, okay, good. Who's got all them?
Angela's got them.
She's going to hand them out.
She's going to hand them to me. I'll hand them to you. I think. We'll figure it out. All right, well, on behalf of the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, we'd like to welcome you to our annual Boards, Committees, and Commissions Recognition Ceremony for all our volunteer members who served during calendar year 2024. For any of you who may not know me, my name is John Hauser, and I work in the County Attorney's Office alongside a very familiar face to all of you, who someone justly described as the face of our administrative support with our Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Diane Gleisner, who usually performs the job I will today, but who is out with a torn meniscus, and I am just excited to be called up here to act in her stead. Diane, I'm sure you're watching. We wish you a speedy recovery. Each year, the county recognizes the invaluable work of our citizen volunteers. St. Mary's County has over 40 boards, committees, and commissions manned collectively by over 200 citizen volunteers. Be it providing advice and insight to the commissioners on the county's needs, deliberating on matters in a board's given field of expertise, or any of the other innumerable varied ways you contribute to the public life of St. Mary's County, the work you do is invaluable, necessary, at times heavy, and always appreciated by those of us who work with you. This morning, the county would like to show its appreciation for your dedication and hard work throughout the year with a certificate of appreciation. When I call your name, we will be going through this in rough alphabetical order of each of the boards, committees, and commissions we have. I will announce each board. If those here who served on that board in calendar 2024 could stand at that time, I will then call forward each member who RSVP'd. We'll hand you your certificate of appreciation, and then each board, committee, and commission will pose for a picture with the commissioners. And then at the end, we'll call out everyone to come up for one large group photo, which we will somehow figure out how to do.
That's fine.
If you did not RSVP, I will not be able to call out your name. If you are here, if you were able to come anywho, though, just come after I call the last name. Announce in the loudest voice you can manage what your name is so we can start digging for your certificate, and we'll be happy to have you up here. Beginning with the Administrative Charging Committee, which I believe has no members present. But moving on to the Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, do we have Robin Johnson present? And to the Agriculture, Seafood, and Forestry Board, Mr. Joseph Wood. Mr. Wood, if you could come up. Oh.
Who was the one prior?
That's Mr. Wood. I think this is our only member from the... Got it. And ma'am, my apologies. Your name? Rob, my apologies. And from the Airport Advisory Board, Mr. George Hill and Mr. Adam Osborne, if you could both approach. Oh. Got it. Sorry, if we could. Got it. Adam. Sorry. Got it. If you all could step back, we'll get the picture of the... Sorry about that. All right. All right, then moving on to the Animal Control Advisory Board, Miss Molly Schmeiser and Miss Rita Weaver. Rita, I think you can go ahead and stay right there because next up is the Board of Appeals. In addition to Miss Weaver, George Allen Hayden. Mr. Hayden, if you could come up. Get your... Followed by Mr. Rich Richardson, and then Miss Rita Weaver. All right. Next board we'd like to recognize is the Board of Trustees for the Museum Division. Do we have Miss Catherine Ross? Do we have Mr. Connor Wolf? Do we have anybody else from the Board of Trustees for the Museum Division? From the Building Code Board of Appeals, Mr. Brian Yunt. Anyone else from the Building Code Board of Appeals? For the Commission for People with Disabilities, Mr. John Ide. And a repeat, Miss Robin Johnson. Miss Shalonda Nelson. Miss Jessica Richards. Keegan Zimmerman. Anyone else from the Commission for People with Disabilities? From the Commission for Women, Miss Melissa Rodriguez. And anybody else from the Commission for Women? From the Commission on Aging, Miss Rowena Basio. Dawn Hahn. And Oma Olamis. Anyone else from the Commission on Aging? From the Commission on the Environment, another repeat, Miss Melissa Rodriguez. And there he is, Mr. Mike Thompson. Yeah. Something wrong with your certificate there, Mike. From the compensation, pardon. From the Compensation Review Commission, Ms. Jacinta Bottoms Spencer. Anyone else from the Compensation Review Commission? Next up, the Economic Development Commission, Mr. Gerald Edward Mayerman. Anyone else from the Economic Development Commission? Anyone from the Electrical Examiners Board? From the Emergency Services Board, C.P. Medinsky? Anyone else from the Emergency Services Board? From the Ethics Commission, Joseph Russell. Anyone else from the Ethics Commission? Anyone here from the Family Violence Coordination Council? The Historic Preservation Commission? All right, we'll hit one on this one. The Housing Authority Board, Mr. Roy Alvey. Anyone else from the Housing Authority Board? Next board to recognize the Human Relations Commission. Do we have Max Levasseur? Anyone else from the Human Relations Commission? From the Length of Service Award Program, Mr. John Walters. Mr. Walters, you can hang tight as well, because next up is the Library Board of Trustees. In addition to Mr. Walters, do we have Tressa Setlak? Do we have anyone else from the Library Board of Trustees? Oh, ma'am, what's your name? Dorothy Waters. Dorothy Waters from the Waters. We'll be getting that one. Library Board of Trustees. From the Local Management Board, William Hill. And Mr. Cowan, of all people not to RSVP, Mr. Troy Cowan as well. Probably figured we'd assumed you'd be here. Next up is the Metropolitan Commission, beginning with Mr. Roy Alvey, if you could come back. After Mr. Roy Alvey, we have on the RSVP list Joseph Gould. Gerald Edward Mayerman. John Polisi. John Polisi. Anybody else from the Metropolitan Commission? From the Planning Commission next, Mr. John Brown. followed by our chair, Howard Thompson. From the Plumbing Gas Fuel Board, John Fluhart. And as Mr. Fluhart comes up, anyone else from the Plumbing Gas and Fuel Board? From the Police Accountability Board, Michelle Dowleen. Do we have anyone present from the Property Tax Assessment Appeal Board? From the Recreation and Parks Board, Jeffrey Kennedy. And as Mr. Kennedy comes up, do we have anybody else present from the Recreation and Parks Board? From the Retiree Benefit Trust of St. Mary's County, Mr. John Walters. And Mr. Walters, before you go, I think you're in a dead heat with Roy Alvey, but you just narrowly edge him out. For the Sheriff's Office Retirement Plan Board, John Walters. Mr. Walters, I think that's the last time we have to call you up here. From the Social Services Board, do we have Jason Dubard? And as Mr. Dubard comes up, do we have Tony Lawrence? Do we have Kimberly Quaid? Do we have anybody else for the Social Services Board, Kimberly? This is, yep. From the Transportation Advisory Committee, Ms. Rowena Basio, Mr. William Hill, and Dr. Glenn Orlin. And we also have Jessica Richards. Okay. Let's see. And the final board that is on our list, anyone from the Wicomico Shores Golf Course Advisory Board. All right. Commissioners, that is everyone on the list.
No, we usually don't do like a whole group unless everyone wants them. No, we usually wouldn't do this. It's just the small.
Good.
John Hartline now?
Certainly. Him and Chris Casalemas. Yes, sir. All right.
Should have stayed up.
That's
there.
done.
Oh,
Always a fun one.
What's that?
Right.
That's it.
Start talking shop out there.
Let's go ahead and take about a 3-minute break to let things calm down. We're ready to restart our meeting. I think next we have Mr. John Hartline from the Tri-County Council. Is that right, to present? And I'd like to get our Economic Development Director. Is he still? Yeah, there he is. Okay. Come forward.
Are we coming around?
Yeah, we all come around. Yeah, all the commissioners, please. Yeah, I'm sorry. Very good. John, how you doing today? Doing well.
I'm going to have the group step forward a smidge just because we reset everything, so we're going to let the...
We got a small presentation, probably a big presentation, from the Tri-County Council to help out our airport as we continue to progress out here. At this time, I'll just turn to Mr. Hartline for the presentation.
Thank you. A lot of people may not know that in the last administration, right after COVID, the Tri-County Councils, all 5 of them in the state of Maryland, were each given $10 million to do economic development projects. One of those projects was nominated by St. Mary's County, which was the airport modernization and remodeling. And I'm here to give you the final check for that project. It's completed. And I have here a check for $75,000.
Wow, we'll take that. Good? All right. You got enough pictures already? All right. Well, John, we want to thank you very much for this presentation. This will help out a lot as we improve our airport area. It's very important for our airport because we're an aviation community, no doubt, and everything we do to modernize that and continue with the development, we appreciate it. And I'm going to give this to our economic director. He's been working very hard at the airport and continues to work at it. Yep. Got a few things.
Thank you, John. Thanks to the Maryland Department of Commerce. Again, this is going to improvements for the front of the airport terminal. Terminal is the front door to the Aero Park Innovation District. It's our main meeting and gathering place, and we've done many improvements. Public Works has, Jim Gotch and his crew, and we fell a little bit short of money, so this is going to help finish out some of those improvements. So thanks again to everybody.
Great. Thank you very much.
I would like to say one more thing. I'd also like to recognize Commissioner Alderson for taking over the chairmanship of the Tri-County Council for this year. Thank you.
Don't spend it all in one place, Chris.
Actually, going to spend it all.
Thank you, Julie, for hopping up.
Okay, next we have the Department of Finance request for a public hearing. The Leonardtown Rescue Squad request for a public hearing to increase rescue tax.
Good morning, Commissioners. Vanetta Van Cleve, CFO for the record. And I'd like to introduce, as they will be speaking in more detail to the request, Mr. Danny Boyles, President of Leonardtown Volunteer Rescue Squad, and Jamie Weber, Assistant Treasurer of the Leonardtown Volunteer Rescue Squad. Oh, except she did not come up.
Jamie was not able to join us today. So I'm flying
If you could just
solo.
pull your microphone up a little bit closer for me. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So good morning. I'm Danny Bowles.
Morning.
You guys heard from me a couple weeks ago when I was here to request a similar tax increase, and the feedback that I received from you guys was that it's better to go ahead and ask for a little bit more than what you need so that I'm not coming back in the next 2 years. So we really took that feedback to heart. We did a lot of inquiries into what our future spending is going to be, and also take a good hard look at the assumptions that our previous estimate was built on. So we're here to ask for an increase from 0.9 cents per $100 of assessed value to 3 cents per $100 of assessed value. So that's a little bit more than what we had asked for previously. Like I said, our previous proposed increase was based on some outdated assumptions. It relied heavily on memorial contributions, fundraising, fund drives, all things that are very vulnerable streams of income. And as many people say, hope is not a strategy, and relying on fundraising and donations is very much a reliance on hope. So we require the rescue tax to increase our daily operations and support the capital investment projects that we have coming up, which include procurement of new apparatus and the modification or replacement of our station. So I'm going to give you a quick summary of what I went over before at the last meeting. So the average increase to our annual rescue tax over the last 5 years was 2.35%. So that increase from 2000 to 2004 resulted in us getting about $26,923 more. And then over the last 5 years, we've been able to do $182,413. So that number doesn't include most of the memorial contributions and other income streams because they're not coded that way in our accounting system. Okay. So like I said before, our increase was 2.3%. Average annual inflation during that same time across the U.S. was 3.9. Some of the specific increases that we've seen related to the materials and services that we use every day and we rely on is personal protective equipment is 33% since 2019. We've seen fuel go up by 30% over the last 5 years. Our facility and maintenance costs have been increasing by 10% over the last 3 years. And the biggest ones that we are currently seeing, that many of our other sister stations are seeing, vehicle insurance costs in just 1 year from 2023 to 2024 increased by 46%. Similarly, workers' compensation from 2023 to 2024 increased by 23%. 2.3% is not helping to keep up with that quite as much as we would hope. We are making do due to strict fiscal discipline. I have an incredible treasurer team with Jamie Weber and Lisa Cooksey who are keeping everything above water, but it would be nice to get a little bit of breathing room. So next slide, please. So some of the capital investments that we're looking at, we replace our apparatus on a 15-year cycle. Like we said last time we were here, that's a little bit more frequent than your fire apparatus, but our ambulances see more mileage and usage on average than your fire apparatus, so they need to be replaced a little bit more often. So we currently have a contract on a new ambulance that's due to be delivered in April. So from that purchase, from the previous purchase with almost identical specifications, that went up from $280,000 to $370,000. And that price includes us getting some significant savings by entering a contract early before the next fiscal year and by putting a large amount down. So normally what we see in apparatus prices are an increase of 5 to 6% each year. But what we're seeing is that there is a higher demand and lower supply. So we're seeing longer wait times to receive our apparatus, and we're seeing higher prices due to materials. The next capital investment is the building fund. We really went back and took a hard look at what the future of our rescue squad holds. Like I had briefed before, we're doing an analysis of alternatives. That analysis is pointing more and more towards a new building. So the footprint that we have in Leonardtown currently, while we can expand about maybe 20 feet on either side, that's not going to be sufficient to house the future growth, and also, pairing with what we're doing with DES, housing some of their vehicles during cold weather, it's just not going to be sufficient. So in addition to that, that's a long-term goal. In the short term, we do have some repairs to our building that need to be done. We identified 5 leaks in our roof during the last snowstorm. Hopefully we got all of them covered before we get our weather today. I'm sure we'll find out. And also, we have our large business meeting room up on the 2nd floor. However, we don't have any means for any of our older members, our handicapped members, or anyone like that to get up to that building. So up to that part of the building. So if we were not to replace our building, we'd still be looking at a considerable investment to renovate and add in an elevator to our current building. So again, we're keeping in mind DES needs as well as our volunteer needs as we move forward. Next slide. So the outcomes and impacts of what we're asking for. The funds are going to support property acquisition and a new facility construction or significant modification if we go that way. But again, the way our analysis has been in the last couple weeks, it's looking more and more like the funds would go towards a new building. So the funds will also combat the increasing operational and apparatus costs that exceed average inflation. So that includes all of the medical supplies currently that we use on the ambulance, all of the fuel costs, and then the upkeep of everything we do for the ambulances, including planned preventative maintenance, and then also on the spot kind of fixes that arise. So again, we took your advice to heart. We want to be proactive. I don't want to have to appear before you guys again in 3 years. So it's better to go ahead and look forward to the anticipated growth within Leonardtown and what the demand signal looks like. So the estimated new tax rate would bring $871,000. What we currently get is about $261,000. So our increase is looking to be about $610,000. So spread over the average number of households of 7,876, we're looking at an impact of $77 and about 50 cents per household. Next slide. So just to wrap everything up, we're requesting the tax increase to maintain our current level and also to support our future growth of the emergency services to the Leonardtown community and our mutual aid partners. We're requesting the commissioners to approve a public hearing at our squad on March 4th at 6:30 p.m. And again, I thank you all for your consideration. I thank you for your feedback, and I thank you for your patience.
So just a couple initial thoughts on, I think this is good for you. It gives you a second chance to practice this presentation before you take it to your public forum for the community. And in my limited experience, our citizens in our community have been incredibly supportive of our volunteer organizations, and I think that's partially due because they know exactly where the tax money's going. Mm-hmm. And they know the benefit that they're getting from it. So I think that's a good thing, and I think that you're able to come with a little bit more solid numbers now, so that's good. And it also strikes me that this is probably our only thing in our budget that actually gets 2 public hearings, because you'll have your public hearing and then we'll have our own public hearing on it down the road too. So there's plenty of time for citizen input to this. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner, anybody else?
I'll just say, Mr. Bowles, thank you for coming before us again. I did take the opportunity to meet with your executive committee. I appreciate your showing me the building and quote unquote showing me around. I did indicate that maybe you should come back and request this. If you were happy with what you requested, that's fine. But you did say that you did see your 10-year plan being a new building. And that's similar to what we heard from the Leonardtown Fire Department. Now, I would say to you, though, is make sure you have all your audits up to snuff, get all your internal financials up to speed before now we'll make our decision probably in May, excuse me, after the public hearing in April. What's going to be very important to, well, this commissioner, and I'll say all of us, is going to be the response of your public hearing that you hold March 4th. And I'll say to you is that will hold a lot of weight on going forward. But I do support you in this request. I will vote to support you, and I'm going to make a motion here in a second to get your public hearing. But just understand, cross your T's, dot your I's.
Yes, sir.
Be ready for any in-depth analysis that's required of you. All right? Thank you. I move to authorize the Leonardtown Fire Rescue Squad to hold a public hearing in reference to the proposed rescue squad tax increase for the Leonardtown Volunteer Rescue Squad as presented, with direction that the public hearing results and public comment will be submitted to the county for consideration as part of the FY 2026 budget process. Any such rate increases will be incorporated into our recommended budget included in the public hearing, April 22nd, 2025.
Second. Discussion. I have just a couple of questions for you. When you were in here previously, you stated you were considering possibly moving to the Leonardtown Fire Department's old building. Would that building be more, I know you have to deal with their timelines. Has there been any indication from the fire department on when they would start their process?
So they have not finalized when they're going to break ground on their new property. So I'm not sure how soon that would be, within 5 years, 10 years, and also what the current state of their building is. I mean, it appears to be good and suitable, but I'd want to see an inspection done before we commit to moving to another building that may have issues that we need to correct.
That building's got a little bit of experience on it also.
Yes.
I do have to agree with Commissioner Colvin that you do get a lot of support from the community when it comes to stuff like this because it is so visible and it is so important. The only thing that you may get pushback on would be with the fire department increasing their tax rate very recently. But I don't hopefully you won't get too much pushback. And I do agree with Commissioner Hewitt on definitely getting the audit squared away because we're 5 years out.
4.
4 years out. So I would definitely try to get those squared away. It makes it a lot easier for much more analytical people that sit there and look at, well, where's this money going? They want to have that independent agency, their report from them. But I will go along on this.
Okay. And just to give you guys an update on the audits, we are caught up to 2023, and they're currently wrapping up the 2024. So we will get all those turned into finance probably within the next month.
That's excellent.
Good, very good. Well, that's what I like to hear. I was going to talk about the audits. I'm glad to hear that. And the people in Leonardtown understand this. Leonardtown is one of our fastest growing areas in the county. So our services are being stretched out quite a bit here. And I do too support your move on to this type of increase.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, I got a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Good luck at your public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles.
Commissioners.
Okay, next we move right into county administrator time.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy, and we'll start as we always do with the draft agendas. There will be no meeting next week of February 18th. Tuesday, February 25th, you'll start at your normal time and place, followed by county administrator time, office of the county attorney, legislative updates, commissioner time, closed session for legal advice and real property, adjourn, and then come back at 1:30 for the budget work session.
Double one, right?
Double header.
Based on today's, yes. And then Tuesday, March 4th, you'll start at your normal time and place. You'll have 3 proclamations, one for National Development Disabilities Awareness Month, one for National Nutrition Month, and one for Women's History Month, followed by commissioner time, adjourn, and then have a budget work session at 1:30. Today, the first thing on the agenda is from the Department of Human Resources with the Sheriff's Office position conversion request. And I see Captain Sean Moses as well, along with our HR Director, Catherine Pratson. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
The Sheriff's Office and I have worked to present to you a request to characterize or convert a vacant position and to a position that would be more suited to their needs. And the conversion is for a grade 11 health nurse position, and the proposal is to convert this to a grade 10 information systems and analytics manager position. And Captain Moses is here to provide any kind of detail around why the need has been identified in the Sheriff's Office. And the proposal will result in a savings.
So Captain Moses, I've heard multiple times in the past what a value having that nurse has been for your department. And so just reading through this packet, it looks like Everside is really picked up there and is covering down on what the nurse was providing before.
You're correct, Commissioner. Obviously, the Sheriff's Office is mostly concerned with the employee health and wellness that we have. We have a mental health provider in our Sheriff's Office and the nurse, which the genesis of that position came from the COVID protocols, which was originally a grant position with DES that we later transferred over to the Sheriff's Office, and we had her in-house and more than 40 years of experience with her. She has since retired, creating that vacancy, but concurrently, the Everside came along, which fills the gap that would be created by her absence. So yes, we are going to miss having a nurse in our building for sure, but at the same time, we have Everside there to be the provider for our employees.
Great.
You know, I have found Everside to be pretty, what's the term, luxury in a way, because, you know, you don't have to wait hours to get in. It is a good thing. As a commissioner, I've been able to take advantage of it myself. I sometimes worry that we can't give it to the general public, but it seems to fit for what we've set it up to do. Now, I think what you're doing here, Captain, is a great example for what other county agencies need to do. And that's if you have a vacancy and you see a need that you need to fill elsewhere, that you convert the vacancy and fill the need. In this tight budget cycle, it's going to be hard for this commissioner to support any additional positions. But I will support converting positions. If you have vacancies that haven't been filled and you need to fill them with, somehow convert them, I'm not sure if it's that easy, but I just want to say, I think this is a great idea. So I'll support you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Commissioner.
And I absolutely agree. I mean, this is really what I like to see. This is looking at the positions that you have. This is controlling spending. This really checks a lot of the boxes that this commissioner wants to see on how we can, especially in this budget cycle, how we can control spending and spend those dollars that we have very wisely. So, yeah, I can support this.
Thank you, sir. Quick question, Captain Moses. How hard do you think this position is going to be to fill, or do you have somebody in the pipeline already? I do not think the position is going to be very hard to fill. In fact, we're prepared. We've been prepared to move quickly on it. We have people that are interested because they know what we're trying to do with the centralization of our analyst positions and putting our systems administrator under this same, right? So it's about providing first-line supervision to those that are performing the task. They are aware that we needed the Tyler CAD RMS implementation that happened in August, and that whole process that came with it highlighted that. So people are all aware that we needed this position, and I think that they'll be chomping at the bit to put in.
How big has that learning curve been transferring over to CAD?
I don't care to repeat it. I've been doing this. I don't care to repeat it. I've been doing this for 20 years, and it has been a monster of a task. But kudos to Mr. Kelly and the Department of Information Technology for all that they've done, and for our Sheriff's Office staff and our DES counterparts who have done a great job. We're already working this week on testing for an upgrade that's happening. So barely got up and running, and we're already working towards a new implementation of an upgrade. So yeah, it's been successful. The vendor, matter of fact, has commented multiple times of how successful this implementation has been.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you have your department, IT, HR, and Everside, all working as a cohesive unit to fulfill the mission of service to St. Mary's County, correct?
That observation would be correct.
All right, I want to make sure that, 'cause I know there was a little bit of pushback on the Everside stuff, and I like hearing that it's actually working out for the county employees also.
That's good.
And the fact that we have all of our agencies working together to succeed here, I think that puts a great narrative out there for the county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, Commissioners?
I move to approve the Sheriff's Office request to convert the vacant agency health nurse position to an Information Systems and Analytics Manager position.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any disapprovals? Ayes have it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, from the Department of Aging and Human Services, is the Governor's Office for Children Enough Initiative Award, Acceptance and Budget Amendment from the Local Management Board. Ms. Cynthia Brown, Deputy Director, and Amanda Meatyard from the LMB. Welcome.
Welcome, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So we are here this morning to request your approval for the Local Management Board to accept the Enough Grant Award from the Governor's Office on Children. The acronym Enough stands for Engaging Neighborhoods, Organizations, Unions, Governments, and Households. This initiative focuses specifically on enhancing programs and services that alleviate poverty. This award for St. Mary's County is in the amount of $111,000, and our Enough initiative will focus on the Great Mills and Lexington Park area. So Amanda Meatyard is with me, and she is our Local Management Board Coordinator. Amanda works very closely with the board members. She was instrumental in preparing our grant submission, and she serves as our liaison with the Governor's Office on Children. So Ms. Meatyard can tell you a little bit about how we intend to use these funds, and she can address any questions you may have.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're excited to be here this morning on behalf of the Governor's Initiative. Funds from this grant will support nonprofits working in the Lexington Park and Great Mills area while enhancing community partnerships and enriching services for families living in poverty. To name a few of the activities that these funds will support, the St. Mary's County Local Management Board is hosting organizational development trainings and workshops, monthly partner community meetings, as well as hosting a poverty simulation on Friday, March 7th at Lexington Park Elementary School. This event is open to the public and invitations have been sent out. And if you know anyone interested in attending any of these events, please let me know.
Let me ask you, this is free money, right? There's no county match involved in this?
Free money. There is no county match, no, sir.
Is this a recurring one? Have we received this before?
This is the first time. The funding cycle was from January to June of 2025. It is anticipated that we will receive more for fiscal year 2026. And hopefully the budgets on the state level will continue this initiative.
So how much of this 111,000 is passed through to go to other organizations in the community there?
For this particular funding cycle, it's going to stay within the Local Management Board, and we will be paying vendors to help develop this curriculum, do trainings and workshops, and hosting the poverty simulation and other events coming.
Okay, this was a little hard for me to figure out. Enough was the act. Engaging neighborhoods, organizations, unions, governments, and households.
Correct.
And then it goes on to say, invites community-driven cross-sector partnerships and communities with high rates of concentrated child poverty to plan and advance place-based strategies to reduce child poverty. I'm not sure what that just said.
It's a lot of words.
What are they going to do?
What are we going to do? We're going to bring the community together to be able to sit at the same table and address the topics of concentration of childhood poverty. One organization cannot do it alone. We know
Okay, well,
that.
tell me, though. Obviously, whatever we can do to alleviate poverty is a good thing.
Sure.
But, I mean, what's $111,000 going to do? Are you going to give the money to people in poverty? You're going to somehow lift them? Or is this going to just be for groups to get together and say, there's a cost to doing this, and we're going to talk about that. What are you going to spend this money on?
So this particular money, like we talked about, we'll be hosting these workshops to work with. It's specifically to help nonprofits elevate their voices and
Okay,
enhance
so
their.
it'll be nonprofits who be able to take advantage of the funding.
Yes.
You have any examples of who would?
Well, we've already started these monthly meetings where some of the nonprofits, including Building Bridges, we have the health department working, we have Circles, we have Resurrection Parish, Reach Back and Lift One, the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay,
They are able
those are good
to-
examples.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to cut you off, I apologize.
Thank you.
But the key is that what you're going to do is actually give these groups funding. They're going to have some kind of accountability for the funding. They're going to have some kind of metrics that they're supposed to reach certain people and lift this thing up. I mean, I hate to use the term feel good, but it sounds like a feel good idea. I just don't know how it's going to work, but you're helping me understand.
No worries. I think we need more feel-good items in our
I agree, but they're
day.
expensive.
They can be expensive, but
Lot of
if you
needs
work
out there.
together, it's not as expensive. So again, currently, this money will stay with the county government, and we, the local management board, will be hosting these opportunities to bring these partners together. Because unless you bring them all together at the same table, we're not going to solve anything.
Amanda, would some of this money also go toward training for the staff that's working specifically with the families? So if any of the nonprofits are in need of perhaps training on how to strengthen their grant writing abilities, as an example, then this money could go toward that. So that's something very tangible and measurable that we can do with the money.
You mentioned some of this money. Is there a percentage of this money that is going to go towards training? Because I do agree with Commissioner Hewitt a little bit. It sounds like there's $111,000 is basically going to go so people can come together, get around a table, and talk. So
The title of the grant is actually capacity building. So it's the idea that we can work with these organizations to enhance their capacity, whether that's their ability to do grant writing, strategic planning, board development. Because in the Enough Initiative, the idea is that these nonprofits, these community agencies, and local government can work together to address the issue.
And so
there's no specific percentage on how much you're going to put, like 50% of this is going to go specifically to training on how to write grants and things like that. There's no, you can't define that.
I think most of it is yes, and some of it goes to food. Eventually, we'd be able to identify a community quarterback that money would go to directly for them to do the direct services. So right now, until we're able to identify that quarterback, then the trainings will kind of help uplift the organizations and what we need for them to be able to do for the next funding cycle. Because it was only a 6-month funding cycle for this initiative.
And we realize that resources are very limited. So one of the goals of this as well, when we say bring organizations together, it's really not just to talk, but to strategize. How do you maximize the staff that you have? How do you maximize the limited dollars that are here? Well, that's through collaboration. And unless you can get everybody at the table at one time to talk about, this is what you're doing, well, this is what I'm doing. Well, how can we partner to maximize the limited resources that are available?
I'd like to see you add Feed St. Mary's Food Bank to that, because I think obviously poverty and hunger or food availability is a vital factor. And I know that Feed St. Mary's Food Bank is doing wonderful things and feeding a lot of people. And this kind of money can go so much further for buying food through those types of groups.
And by including them as well as St. Mary's Caring and,
another
getting
goal.
everybody there so that there's not really duplication of services, that they could actually partner and enhance what they're already doing.
All right, as long as you're spending this money on something that actually puts food and
Physically
kids'
does
stomach-
something.
A direct impact on the community.
Well, I don't know.
So last question from me.
Sure.
Memory's a little fuzzy, but I feel like we've talked about this concept before and maybe had a previous grant that was kind of doing the same thing. Is that correct? Did you come before us before to talking about the similar concept of these gathering groups and food for them while they're in their meetings and doing
So we initially came with the NOFA to be able to get your approval to submit the application for it.
Okay.
This is actually getting from the state for you guys to sign, to send back.
Gotcha.
So that can. Also, one of the vendors that the local management board funds through the Governor's Office for Children money is the Circles Initiative, which also aligns with this idea of poverty alleviation system.
Right. So let me just clarify for a minute. When you said some of this money will go to food, so some of this money will not be going to food for the local families who are struggling. This money will be used to buy food for the meetings that these
That's
people will be
correct,
attending.
for this round.
Again, it's free money.
Is this a recurring grant?
We hope so.
Because I
Depending on
think-
state budgeting and stuff, we are guaranteed through this funding cycle till June, as well as for the next one in 2026.
Because if I remember correctly, I think the enough was capped at 300,000 over a 3-year period.
It depends on which track you were applying for.
Okay.
St. Mary's County did not meet the criteria for the competitive track.
Mhm.
So this is the money that each jurisdiction will be receiving through the local management boards for capacity building strategies.
Thank you.
I know this is well needed because I know that St. Mary's Caring, which I'm very familiar with, our Lions Club gives a lot of the, as he says, chunky soup. We got a campaign as much by delivered to them. But anyway, they delivered over 90 boxes of food to needy families last week alone.
Mhm.
And this is an ongoing thing as it goes on. And I know they collect a lot of different foods from people in the community. They do a good job of that. It's amazing that we have that many people out there that are in need of this. It's amazing. So anything that does physically supports this, I'm all for, no doubt. I want to see it get out there. It's not a handout, it's a hand up to me. As you're helping somebody to move up in life and hopefully get over the basic things of getting something to eat, for goodness sakes.
And Commissioner, funds like this will go to help those programs be able to do more of that.
Good, good.
So that's the
That's
goal.
what we need. Okay.
And that's one of the things I like. I know I asked you some tough questions, but one of the things I like about it is getting these organizations together so they can problem solve, so they can better serve our community.
Correct.
As a whole. So I move to approve the FY25 Local Management Board Capacity Building Grant as outlined in the Enough Initiative in the amount of $111,000, state funds, and authorize the Commissioner President to sign the related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next up is from the Department of Public Works and Transportation for a reorganization, Director Jim Gotch. Welcome.
Can we just do this?
Oh, this one seems
familiar.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Allison Swint is here to answer questions if you have questions on day-to-day operations. What we're here for is asking to reclassify a few of the positions that we have at Public Works. Ultimately, it saves money. It reduces our operating costs. So we have I'll start with the STS program. We have 3 open positions that we're having a hard time filling. We've got them out for advertisement, and we can't get anybody to fill it. So what we want to do is we have STS supervisor position that we want to move from a grade 7 to a grade 8. And then to offset that cost, we created, of our 4 dispatcher positions, we have 2 lead dispatch positions and 2 dispatch positions. And what that's done is when somebody becomes the supervisor, it's created friction between the 4 dispatch positions, and we can't keep all 4 filled at the same time. So we're running into problems where we have just 2 dispatchers right now, the 2 plain dispatch, not the lead dispatch. And so if we reclassify the lead dispatch back to the dispatch, we'll have 4 equal positions. And then the goal is to fill those 4 positions as it was before we made a change. And then we can have 2 people in the office in the morning, 2 people in the office in the afternoon. What we've been running into is when a driver calls out sick, the dispatcher jumps in the bus, drives the bus, and then a free-for-all who's answering the phone, trying to give directions on where to go. And I get the calls, Dave gets the calls, Allison gets the calls. So this would help us greatly. And then the reclassification of those positions from the lead dispatch from a grade 5 to a 4 to match the other dispatchers would offset the cost of the supervisor position. Then on the other, up in the engineering building, we have a MS4 program, which is the Clean Up the Bay program, is what I always say. And so when we created that division, there was a grade 11 position for the supervisor, and the supervisor did everything. It was the MS4 program manager, I think is the official title. And so they went in the field, did the inspections, came back, wrote the reports, sent all the paperwork up to MDE, and as our county gets, as the state shoves more and more requirements for cleaning up the bay into the county, the program has grown. There's 5 people there, so we've got inspectors who go out into the field and write the reports of what's going on in the stormwater. We've got office guys who are preparing the paperwork, and then this is the coordinator position of that group that is responsible for preparing the reporting to MDE each year. So instead of having a grade 11, we're going to drop this to a grade 10 because some of the duties of the original position were spread out. And so that saves a little bit of money as well.
Which ones are the hard ones you're getting to fill? If you had 3 that you've had a hard time filling, what are they?
The STS positions, the supervisor.
Oh, the supervisor, okay.
Yes.
Now, like I said to the sheriff's department, I'll support you on filling, reclassifying vacant positions, because we've already got that money in the budget for those positions. So as long as you can do that, I'm glad to support you and make you more efficient, I hope.
Thank you.
You guys sound like you're saving over $40,000.
Yes, this will drop our operating budget by about 40,000.
Okay.
We have another one in the works too that will save even more than this, but that's not as urgent. We've got to get people in the STS building to help with the program.
I understand. Good.
All right, I move to approve the DPW&T reorganization in collaboration with the county administrator, human resources, and finance.
Second. Excuse me, second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and that's all for the county administrator time. Next up is legislation by Deputy County Attorney John Hauser. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. I will try to be as quick as I can this morning because I have just as much incentive as anybody else to get out as soon as possible. Apparently, I'm to go buy my parents a snow shovel before I go home.
Dyson Building Center.
We hope you got a snowplow to go with your parents to take care of that.
My parents do. I do not. I'll be walking to the bottom of the hill until that stuff melts on its own.
Well, you're going to use that snow shovel to shovel out your parents, though, right? They're not actually going to do it.
I will be sheltering in place with my dog. They're on their own. I'm only providing equipment and material.
Your dog's made for the snow, Mr. Hauser.
He ain't looking forward to it, I can tell you that. By the numbers, Commissioners, we have got 55 days left in the legislative session. By our next legislative briefing on the 25th, we will be past the halfway mark. We've passed two dates of great significance. We are beyond the point in time where bills should be introduced in either chamber of the General Assembly to guarantee their hearing date. We are standing at 2,501 bills right now. That is just shy of about 200 less than the total amount filed last year. We might, inclusive of late files, exceed last year's volume, but it looks like we're going to come in a little bit short of that. The next looming date of significance is March 17th, about a month from now, which is crossover date. So if bills have not moved out of one house by then, the odds of them doing so drop precipitously. Doesn't make it impossible, just does make it difficult, because at that point you have to resort to special changes to the rules to get things moving in the opposite chamber. Our local bills, there's no update on terms of the text or any local bills that have been introduced. Everything that affects St. Mary's County and only St. Mary's County is as it was last week. The update is on our hearing dates. Everything comes up for testimony in at least one chamber of the House, either this week or next, most of it this week. Today we have it this afternoon, the corrections bill from the Sheriff's Office, the competitive building threshold bill, Metropolitan Commission's changes to Chapter 113, and the Senate hearing date for the Judiciary's bill creating the Fourth Circuit Court judgeship. Tomorrow, the Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan amendment process bill is heard in the House, along with the House's stab at the bill creating the Fourth Circuit Court judgeship. On Thursday, the 13th, we have the prohibition on roadway solicitations being heard. And then on the 17th, we have the alcohol bills. And finally, on the 18th, we have the Senate hearing on the public facilities bond, with a hearing date still waiting for the House. We don't have any new letters. We do not have anything more for the commissioners to kind of adopt with that. We are seeking direction on how to proceed with respect to the public facilities bond. Last week, we came in front of you with a letter requesting a support with amendments. That was addressed to our delegation. The commissioners supported sending that. It was sent to the delegation. I have had no feedback or communication from any member of the delegation since then. So the decision point is whether you just want to keep on the tack we are and file that as part of our official written testimony with the Senate when it's heard on the 18th, or if we are leaving at the level of we've raised the issue with the delegation, they've said their piece.
Well, just so the commissioners know, I was in contact with Delegate Crosby, who is sponsoring our who will sponsor our higher bond authority request, but he said he did need Senator Bailey to sponsor it in the Senate. I've reached out to Senator Bailey, and I've been texting back and forth. I've told him that, our fund balance is going to have to be used probably for snow removal. We still haven't got the full bill for the first one. Mr. County Administrator, will we know what that first snow removal bill was? I saw him.
I believe the number I had was sure, Mr. Yingling. The number I had was 1.6, but I'm not sure that included the employees.
Time, right?
It didn't
Right.
include overtime, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, we haven't gotten the full overtime for we've had 3 snowstorms. The first one was really 2 in 1. We got hit with the first, so that was the big one. That was about $900,000 in contractor support. And then 2 additional ones, which were about $130, $150 apiece, plus 4,400 tons of salt. The increased overtime, we should probably have a good handle on that by next week after this payroll. We'll have a good handle on where we are with that, plus whatever we incur out of this.
Is it safe to say $2 million?
$2 million would be a good ballpark.
Okay, that's the number I used with Senator Bailey, is that we're anticipating $2 million. Now, do we have an idea on salary savings? Because typically, we look at salary savings as an opportunity to fund snow.
I know we've had some conversations with the CFO in the next probably month. She'll be bringing forward the second quarter salary savings. Last she estimated was there will be a reduction as we hire more people and fill more spots. We would anticipate a small reduction in that.
Okay.
Do we know what we currently have in our commissioner reserve? I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember off the top of my head. That's right.
Is our CFO available to?
Yes.
As of this morning, $1,145,138.
Okay, that's Commissioner Reserves, $1,145,000?
Correct.
All right. Now, there's been talk of a $1.2 million fund initiative from a cannabis. I heard that through the county minutes. Somehow I heard it through the grapevine, through someone said It was found money. I don't know, I don't want to call it found money,
No,
but I
sir.
wasn't
Mr.
aware of it prior.
Mr. Hauser can speak to it probably the most. My understanding is it's normally not so large, but due to the shifting of, well, I'll go ahead and let.
The cannabis restitution.
Yeah, the fund we're referencing is the Community Repair and Restitution Fund. That was one of the pots of money the state created when it legalized recreational marijuana, and I don't remember the exact percentages. I think it's about 35 to 30% of all receipts from the cannabis sales tax flow into this statewide Community Repair and Restitution Fund. That then gets distributed to the counties. There is a formula according to there's a way they do it, but I will summarize it as how far ahead are we of other counties in terms of marijuana-related arrests, i.e. justice interactions involving marijuana possession laws. The idea being that the more of these crimes you had charged in your county, the more of this Community Repair and Restitution Fund you are going to get back.
Okay, just tell us the amount.
We are one of the lower counties. We have 1.2 million, more
Okay.
or less, sitting in it right now. That money, we are likely to only get probably in the mid to high 5 figures, low 6 figures in a banner year
Going
in any
forward?
given year. The reason it is so high right now is that license fees for converting from medical licenses to recreational fees flowed into the CRRR. So we had a huge one-time infusion.
As usual, you helped me so much. But
I
my
got
thought-
more.
No, hold on. What I'm trying to understand, though, if the amount is 1.2 million, is that true? Whoever I'm talking to.
It's more or less, the last check-in at late November was about 800 or high 800s. We were counting on the one last kind of 25th percent of the licensing fees to come in, or the projection was about 1.2.
Okay, my key gets to be
back of the
this.
math.
If we have another big snowstorm, another $2 million event for snow, look, we took snow out of our budget a few years back, and we're getting whacked pretty bad this time. So we need to figure out where that money is going to come from. Now, the sources are typically commissioner reserve, salary savings, fund balance for sure. And now this 1.2 million is
It would meet the criteria.
There's
I think there's
criteria
limitation
for it.
we can use that
This
money.
fund it's lockboxed in. We can spend it in one of two ways, either on community-based initiatives to support a low-income neighborhood and community-based initiative not further defined than that, or a community-based initiative to fund a neighborhood that had basically more than its proportionate share of arrests related to a war on drugs, which Office of
All right,
Social Equity
you-
does that.
on a
It's-
rabbit hole.
Right.
So my point is, that money is not available.
It's not on the
That's
table
simple
for
enough. Just
snow.
go there.
For snow. Right.
So the key is can't help out with snow. But the point I'm driving at here is with this bond initiative. If we want to continue with our CIP projects, then we're going to have the flexibility to figure out a way to meet the snow removal as it pops up. We've still got another month or probably longer to go of potential more snowfall. So with that said, I've asked Delegate Matt Morgan and State Senator to
relook at this bond?
Revisit the bond authority up to 86 to give us the flexibility. Because I really believe fund balance is going to be hit to do this. Now, that's a long way of getting to just saying we're having discussions. Delegate Matt Morgan said it was too complicated to discuss in a text. I asked him for a phone call. He was at the Republican Club last week, and I thought I'd get an opportunity to talk to him that night, but we didn't. And so maybe we'll talk again, but we don't have another meeting for another 2 weeks. And we need to get our head around what these emergency expenses are going to be. And I think they're going to well exceed our commissioner's reserve.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we need to figure out what's available to us. So thanks for helping us out. If you can give us a little bit more clarity on what these costs are.
Yes, sir.
So when we talk to our delegation, that we can have some firm figures that they can put their head around.
And to be clear, we're in a very strong position due to the fiscal conservative nature of our commissioners. So we are ready to weather this storm, and we will get you the updated figures.
Yeah, but it's going to come out of fund balance, right?
Oh, it's going to come out of fund
Well,
balance.
but they have this idea that we can take 15 million out of fund balance and use it for our CIP projects. So with that being said, it puts us in a tough position as to which CIP projects do we push out. Let's put it that way.
With the current economic outlook, flexibility, and at the local level would be our recommendation and preference.
Well, they did say they would let commissioners run the commissioner's budget, but it seems like they've changed their mind.
Quite magnanimous, Sir Commissioner.
Okay, well, thanks.
if-
Back
Well,
to,
we
back
do-
to the legislative.
We do have some opportunities to see the, if they show up on the 20th, up to Annapolis.
Well, let's see.
To the Tri-County Council.
But-
Of course, I was up there last week and none of them showed up, so.
But the cannabis money has strings attached.
Well, we'll hit the cannabis money in maybe 5 minutes. There's a pending legislation that'll kind of change the discussion on that, and I can
Okay.
take that up then. I don't know if the
Right
legislation
now, it's tied, though. I
pass.
know it's tied right now.
Right. But as far as if I'm heeding the direction, I think staff were just directed through parent consensus of the commissioners to continue working to see if delegation works with us to meet the request for restoring the bond authority, if we will have to upload testimony or do witness signups on February 17th. If it hasn't resolved by then, I'm assuming that that is our position. We will be uploading that letter as our written testimony, so our case is made at the bill hearing. Then, that understanding, moving on, the only other local, not a local bill, but a local bond initiative that did pop up, St. Mary's County Elks Lodge, number 2092. Do not have any further I can give you than that that's the name of this legislative bond initiative, but was filed in the last week by Delegate Todd Morgan and Senator Jack Bailey, seeking $25,000 for St. Mary's County Elks Lodge, number 2092.
Do our elks know what that's for?
Yes, they did upgrades to their HVAC heating system, and they were hoping to get reimbursed for that. They had to put in new, I guess, heat pump, furnace, whatever they had to put in. And that Delegate Morgan, Todd Morgan, who was also a member there, said that he thought he could get him a bond bill. Now, he did it last year, and it didn't go. So they're resubmitting a second year.
And I'm not saying anything against the Elks, they're a great organization, but it seems strange to get a bond bill for what is essentially a private organization, it seems to
Well,
me, but.
The Brenton Bay Golf Course, which is a private golf course, got $1 million.
But that, I think we looked at the broader impact of what could happen if that dam failed there, but yes.
Well, we have a competing golf course that's a public golf course. True. We're using public money to support a private golf course that you have to be a member to play at. You have to have a
Semi-private.
member. Huh?
Semi-private, public's invited to Bretton Bay. Yeah.
Public's invited.
You get preferred tee times if you're a member, though.
And it
You get
costs
that
I always thought you had to have a membership there that, well, whatever. We won't go down that road. But the key gets to be is, I know Delegate Todd Morgan brought it to the Board of Directors Chair, Robert Broom, that this was available to them. So Morgan brought it to them. They didn't go after.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm not.
So it's kind of like if you're telling me
Hey,
it's
if you can
out
get
there,
it, get
go
it,
for
yeah.
it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But it will be another, what's the term, challenge or indication of what our delegation can do if this bond bill is successful.
This year?
Yeah.
Well,
What
let's
I heard
just say-
last night, I don't think so.
Let's
Good luck.
just say-
I remember doing the math under the governor's budget. Now, this could change, but under the governor's budget, they allotted $50 million for legislative bond initiatives across the entire state.
Yes, they do.
If you do the math on what, so St. Mary's County is 1.85% of the state population, that's about $995,000 of the $50 million.
Well, hopefully
you
that's
get.
Crosby's million for the YMCA.
We'll see. I haven't been directed to take any preference on the LBIs yet, but I certainly saw that number too, and it's right about.
That's the only two they're doing is the million for the YMCA and 25 for the Elks.
The Valley Lee.
Oh, yeah,
Second
that's right,
District.
that's right.
Solar panels.
Yes, yes.
Solar panel.
Moving on then, Commissioners, we did before Thursday have one request for a letter of support from Commissioner Colvin, SB 18, a bill that would amend the number of early voting days from the current 8 down to 5.
Oh, yeah,
This was filed in the Senate only by a state senator from, I believe, Baltimore County or Baltimore City, if I recollect correctly, citing his reasons that now that absentee voting is so prolific, now that there's so many early voting days, they're seeing the numbers of votes on particular early voting days decreasing, and that don't really think that it's cost effective any longer. I can't give you what it would save on St. Mary's. I will say nice thing about coming to a bill that's already had its hearing, the fiscal and policy notes out. I did look into that. Calvert County was one of the counties that responded to it. They estimated about $50,000 in savings for a given election year if this bill were to become law in Calvert County.
What would the number of days go from to?
From 8 to 5. From
to-
eight current early voting days to 5 days.
So it's still a pretty wide window that people would
Correct.
have.
Sure.
So you'd go from, I think, Thursday to Monday under this bill
Now-
of early voting.
Okay.
Mr. Hauser's note on here is that Mako did take a position to oppose this, and I spoke to Kevin Canali this morning, and they realized that what the bill is trying to do now, and Mako will have a revised position at tomorrow's meeting. Commissioner President Guy.
That was a fun one. That was a go back and check the witness testimony just to make sure, because Mako came out swinging against this, and they just misread it.
I reached out to the Board of Elections earlier this week through email to get that number, but I have not heard anything back yet from Board of Elections on that.
So a letter of support, if that be the will of the commissioners, has been prepared. We've missed the hearing date in the Senate. Should it advance, though, we would be in a position to offer written testimony. For the House's hearing, we would email the letter of support to the Senate committee members after the fact, as we customarily do when hearing dates have already passed.
Well, I move to submit a letter of support for SB 18 and to authorize the Commissioner President to sign any related or any required documents.
Second.
Got a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Now, moving on to tract bills that came up, maybe call it 3.5 big ticket items I wanted to talk about. First, an update on where the budget stands. The BRFA has its hearing scheduled on the 25th in the House and the 26th in the Senate. I think the big development since then is Mr. Bariano scared up for us the Department of Legislative Services, roughly 60-odd page analysis of changes to local aid presented in this bill. Budget. I read through it, and my top line figures are for you is that Department of Legislative Services computes a total 3.191 million increase in local aid to St. Mary's County over fiscal year 25. Now that's broken out into the broad categories of community colleges, public schools, libraries, health, and then other miscellaneous county and municipal grants. If you subtract the state aid that goes to public schools, which is 2.838, about 88.9% of the total state aid we receive, we are left with an increase of $353,000 over fiscal year 25, and we are staring down, I think Finance did the math, about $2.4 million in local cost shares that'll be pushed onto the county under the governor's budget.
So the delta about $2 million?
So if you,
Let's add to that,
discount
too.
the schools, we take a big wash on it.
Now, to add to that too, we had an interesting report yesterday from the Comptroller's office that shows if the governor's tax plans as currently presented go through, St. Mary's County will receive 1.4 million less in income tax revenue. That's a big hit.
Yep, I'm still.
But the key there is if, and Commissioner Guy and I were on the rural county call last night, and the one thing that Mako stressed is that everything is still up in the air, and that we can't make any decisions with our budget until the General Assembly figures out what they're going to do. My understanding is that the majority of the delegates are not in favor of the governor's budget. They are not in lockstep with the governor. They do not want to see any cuts. So what that means for our citizens is life is not going to get cheaper in Maryland, and we shall see what it looks like. And the other big thing is that good on the governor's office for admitting this, but they made a mistake when they released their plan, and their plan deals with the death taxes that Maryland has and reorganizing that, and it did not, it took away funding for our Register of Wills offices all across the state. They say they're going to fix that. We don't know what that fix looks like yet, and there's a chance that it will push more costs down to the county.
That's how they're going to fix it.
Yeah.
That's how they're going
That
to
you
fix
guys
it.
pay for it.
And, yeah.
So the end of the thing last night was that we're looking about mid-March.
Yeah.
Before we have any idea of what's being pushed down to us.
That would be my assessment. So it's an odd and even, it's an odd numbered year, means that the House will take its first stab at advancing a budget. And this is the point where it's not so much analysis, but devolves into rank punditry as gleamed from Baltimore Sun, Maryland Matters, Daily Record. The chatter right now is that the House leadership is generally very skeptical of cuts and are talking about revenue enhancements. They're looking at that. The Senate, contrarily, seems very averse to revenue enhancements or increasing taxes, and Senate President Ferguson came out last week and promised hundreds more in cuts to the state budget.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions, couching it as a response to what's happening at the federal level, but it's obvious that even the governor's budget, if he meets all his projections, if all the revenue comes in that they're projecting, which I think there could be great and fair skepticism of just how much those numbers would come in, even that only gets us to a balanced budget this year. It does nothing to affect the structural deficit in the out years from here. So if they're going to do something other than kick the can down the road, there has to be more than what's in the current budget. So it most certainly is going to change.
Of course, the state's using other than, they don't want to raise any taxes, but they're using another form, fee.
Right, yeah.
Revenue. They're putting a lot of that out there, fee, F-E-E, instead of T-A-X. Exactly.
As far as the timeline goes, again, hearings at the end of this month. The only hard deadline after that is the budget must be passed by March 31st.
Okay.
The other one below that, again, in the general topic of great changes to revenue or expenses, HB 504, the Excellence in Maryland Public Schools Act. Been putting this one off as long as I can, waiting to see informed analysis. It's about 63 pages long. Education and finance aren't my greatest policy areas to begin with, but at the point where if the commissioners were to take a position or show an interest, the hearing date in the Senate is coming up, so have to go with it now. When Governor Moore is talking about the governor's proposals to change the blueprint, this is the bill. And I think the top line gloss on this one is that it reduces the per year growth of what they call the foundation funding, which is, the per pupil amount of spending that state and localities must meet. It takes that from instead of about a 4 and 5% growth per year under the current blueprint down decreases that to about 2 to 3% per year in that target per pupil funding. So there are still increases. It's a pause. It's a delay. It is less than what's in the blueprint right now. The other big thing it does, this has received a lot of comment online, is that it delays, does not outright stop, delays implementation of increased collaborative time in the schools. Collaborative time is time teachers spend other than direct instruction in a classroom, for training, analyzing student data, identifying students who may need help, mentoring at-risk students, again, things other than direct in-classroom time. Currently, that's 20% of a teacher's workday. The plan under the blueprint is to increase that to 40% of a teacher's workday within 8 years. This hits a pause on that for a few years. To meet the full collaborative time requirements would require 15,000 more teachers statewide than we currently have in the midst of a teacher shortage. Other things this bill does as well is that it creates or authorizes Maryland to participate in something called the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact, which is the idea of reciprocity for certain teacher credentials between states that participate in the compact. Also has a few other smaller benefits, such as a $2,000 teacher relocation cost assistance provision, creation of a teacher leadership, which would take teachers in schools who may show an interest or an aptitude for moving into being a principal or other school-based leadership position, and kind of gets them on a training track for that. Moving on then, this takes us all the way to, skip page 4 to page 5, HB 1036, the Renewable Energy Certainty Act. This is, again, has drawn a lot of attention at MACO, a lot of attention from other rural counties. This is, when they talk about the solar energy siting bill, this is the bill, as I think MACO characterized it, that would codify for good the more or less in total state preemption that has been in place for about 5-6 years after the perennial solar decision from the Court of Appeals, and would just say with certainty and for good that as long as solar generating facilities above a certain threshold meet the requirements in this state law, a county may not deny that project, and a county must expedite their local permitting matters once they have their certificate of public necessity in hand from the Public Service Commission. We do get some things in this. We have baked into the state law that's been proposed a 150-foot setback for any solar generating facility from an occupied building on another lot. Even on an unimproved adjacent lot, there has to be a 50-foot setback from the solar generating facility and the lot line of the adjacent property. We get the option, if we so choose, to require a modest landscaping buffer between the facilities on there. And then the other big thing it does is that it makes an energy applicable energy generating facility, exempts them from paying our local property tax. It does impose a $5,000 per, I think, 2 megawatt MW. If that's, I believe that's megawatt, might be milliwatt, maybe something else. 2 MW. For every 2 MWs you generate, you pay, I think, $5,000 in a payment in lieu of taxation. MACO's position is pending. It has sponsors in the House and the Senate. I believe the Senate sponsor is Chair Feldman. Not entirely sure of that. In the House, it's Economic Matters Chair and Vice Chair C.T. Wilson and Brian Crosby. Hearings are on the 28th in both the House and the Senate. If the commissioners wanted to weigh in and take a formal position, we'd need that direction now. To be, pardon me, we could do that on February 25th. We would have enough time there with hearings on the 28th. We can bring this back then to think about it. Okay.
Yeah, the only question I would have is the energy storage device. In the past several MACO conferences I've been to, has been one commissioner from the Eastern Shore who is concerned about the energy storage devices and the fire hazards they pose, and the ability of the local volunteer fire departments to extinguish a battery fire and the equipment required for that. That's the only question I would have on that.
We will bring this back for a decision if one's to be made on the 25th then, and we will look into that and address that concern if we're able.
You know, we have that group that wants to put one up here in Mechanicsville at that old ammunition site.
Yeah.
And I asked them about that, and their point is like, look, these are usually trailer-type facilities. There's nobody in them. If those things catch fire, you know, he said they're usually not around anything else that can spread the fire to. They put them somewhere where they're self-contained, and they said they just let them burn out because it's not like they're going to be able to, they're not trying to save any lives because there won't be any people in there.
Yeah.
And as far as the property is concerned, if it catches fire, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to be worth anything anyway. So their point is that the risk to a firefighter or fire company would be low. Then, of course, what about the emissions? I know, and their point is that the emissions that they would put up are what they've said in the past was not that hazardous or that, let me just use the term, not that bad.
Okay.
But that's their analysis, and they do it for a living. But they said they have very few fires. But I guess they could. Look at the number of cell phones and the number of electric cars out there and the number of fires. We hear of them, but considering the number of them, it doesn't seem to be very many.
There's still something to consider.
I get it.
All right, and the only other bill I was going to mention this morning, Commissioners, on page 8, HB 1364/SB 894, Office of Social Equity, Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund Advisory Board and Modifications. We already talked about the gist of this, of the Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund in broad strokes, but just to summarize, this is a fund that was created. It does exist. We have, again, amount of money that we estimated is in there right now. The only restraints, the only guidance we have in state law to do with that is that we have to, quote unquote, pass a local law before we spend that money. Some counties have elaborate community advisory panels, that there's a grant process, all that. Some counties have just said, there will be a fund, and from time to time we will just make appropriations out of it that comply with the law. Not really any more guidance than that. As far as where ultimately the dollars can go, community-based initiatives in either a low-income neighborhood or in a neighborhood that, again, had a disproportionate number of arrests related to the war on drugs, defined in St. Mary's County to only
That's
be...
the social equity we're trying to...
That's the idea of that. And there is only one eligible zip code under that second bucket of eligible areas. That's zip code 20653. That's determined by the Office on Social Equity. One of the reasons held back and that we've waited to see what would come of this fund, it, like so many parts of the overall legalization of recreational marijuana, it was a must-pass recreational cannabis. My apologies. It, like so many parts of the bill 2 years ago, it was a must-pass bill. There were good ideas that were not fleshed out. The Office of Social Equity has always had opinions on the way this money should be spent that were not borne out by the actual statutory text. The Office of Social Equity, which is a unit within the Maryland Cannabis Administration, at one point was giving guidance that said counties must establish these local advisory boards and they must be targeted in these areas, something that has never had statutory support. This is the Office of Social Equity's attempt to get kind of their preferences for how this money be spent and directed into the actual statutory code. It's got a weak sponsor line right at the moment. One senator and one delegate, both of whom I think from experience of last year's are not unfamiliar with sponsoring legislation that doesn't necessarily have purchase from the broader, more moderate streams of thought within the majority party. So we'd have to see if this one goes at all. If it does not, I would say at that point, a pretty safe assumption that they are leaving it to the counties to decide how to spend it as they will, as long as they fall into those two broad categories, which you can define community-based initiatives a lot of ways, I would think, a lot of reasonable ways. So this is going to be a big wait and see what, if any.
Let's bring this back up next time we talk about it too, to see if there's any movement on it. But what you're saying is this will limit the ways that we're able to utilize the funding.
It will.
Further limit.
We would have to target into about 5 areas: behavioral health, housing, community development, things like that. It's nothing that you would think eye-opening, shocking for something named the Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund. It is less freedom than we would enjoy right now. It would also come with the duty to, starting October of 2026, create an annual report on how we spent the money. It would also, probably the most onerous thing, is we'd have to have I paraphrase a little bit, a strategic plan we develop in consultation with local stakeholders on how we're going to target disbursements made from our share of the CRRF.
Okay.
Commissioners, that was as far as planned remarks go. If there's anything else you would like to direct our attention to or things we can do in the meanwhile.
Counselor, I know we had spoken about it. Can you kind of give us a overview of HB 1188?
Please, I would be happy to. HB 1188, Commissioner Ostro spoke to me about this Saturday evening after we had published the Thursday memo. I'll start with what kind of the existing law that HB 11888 targets first. 4 years ago at this point, General Assembly passed a law that created Criminal Procedure Article 5-104, which in so many words, by state law, limits, if not outright prohibits in certain circumstances, the amount of cooperation our local law enforcement agency, any local law enforcement agency or law enforcement facility like the detention center, can cooperate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement in ICE's performance of its duty. How that plays out, I think in the most salient ways, is that under current state law, it is prohibited unless it is relevant for a state, for the investigation of a state crime, to make inquiries about a person's immigration status. It is also impermissible to hold a person of undocumented status longer than necessary to kind of resolve whatever state criminal justice related things they've got going. In other words, say for example that if somebody is released on recognizance, serves their time, whatever it might be, I think ICE's preference is they ask for a 48-hour window with which they would continue to be held at a local detention center, and that ICE could come and pick up that undocumented person for processing for whatever federal issues they might have with respect to their immigration status. We're not allowed to do that 48-hour hold under state law. How that plays out local here is that there is a policy at our local sheriff's office that absolutely mirrors 100% the state law, because that's the state law. What this HB 1188 would do, and it's co-sponsored by Delegate T. Morgan and a strong buy-in from the minority party, would essentially repeal the existing Criminal Procedure 5104 that says you may not cooperate, replaces it with words that say you shall cooperate.
Counselor, I see we have the sheriff in the audience. Would you mind coming up, Sheriff? Because I know, like many of us here, we've gotten requests to explain the Sanctuary County part. I've had 2 inquiries directed at me personally from people who know me in the community, and they say, Mike, are we a sanctuary county? And I say, no, we have never voted to be a sanctuary county.
Exactly.
But I do say it falls under the sheriff's department for what was brought to my attention last September at the county fair, that St. Mary's County Correctional Facility was on a list from the Immigration and Custom Enforcement Division website saying that they were a non-cooperating facility. So, look, it took me by surprise. I didn't know. You and I have had conversations about it, but maybe you can help us understand if someone's going to say, Mike, what is the deal with this? I have been telling them, call the sheriff's office.
And whatever you're doing is working. I have had several conversations with constituents, and interestingly, I've had conversations with with the special agent in charge of the Baltimore office of ICE, who was equally astounded that we were on that list. We have a documented, and we have a long-standing working relationship with ICE. Our policy mirrors state law because I am sworn to uphold state law. And some of the things that our astute attorney highlighted is that period of time when the hole is in place. And honestly, I would never want to put our county and our taxpayers in jeopardy if I'm operating outside the law, outside of the advice of our attorney general, who is my attorney, to hold somebody and then, God forbid, something happens, because we then are responsible for all the costs.
Now tell me, when I first got elected 10 years ago, we used to house ICE detainees, and I'll use the term, we were reimbursed for housing them.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we no longer do that.
No, we haven't done that in some time. I don't know that that was a very good business deal for us.
Well, I don't know if it was either. I just remember that was the case.
That's true. We do not have the luxury of those cells.
Okay, so we do not have capacity for that.
We've got enough people in the detention center to take care of than having any additional.
Now, help me in understanding this. So if a ICE person calls the sheriff's department and says, I have a person down there I want you to pick up, and this person is known to have done whatever they've known to have done, does the sheriff's department then go pick that person up and hold him till ICE comes and gets him?
If ICE were to call today and say they have a dangerous person that they want to get out of this county, I'll be pointing the door.
You'll be what?
I'll be pointing the door.
Go get him?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, so the point is you will cooperate if you're requested.
If they have a dangerous person and that this is my understanding, and some of the understanding as to the phases of this program and implementation are not, they haven't become clarified. But phase one is to get dangerous, undocumented people out of this country. I'm in full favor of that, and like I said before, we would assist in getting anybody that's a dangerous threat in this community out. Conversely, if a person, regardless of their immigration status, commits a crime in this county, they're going to jail. And if somebody is currently in the detention center that ICE wants because they're a dangerous threat to this community, they will be held because I have probable cause and probably a judiciary signature on that ICE detainer that gives me full authority to hold them as long as is needed.
All this sounds great, Sheriff, and I'm really glad to hear it. But tell me, how do we get our name off that list?
It's in the process.
Oh, good.
And what is interesting is there's another 20 agencies throughout the state that are basically doing exactly like we are. Have no idea, but he was equally as shocked as an ICE special agent in charge that we were on that. So I'm working with him.
Again, I was too. I said, no, there's got to be a mistake. Yeah. This can't be true.
No idea. Trying to.
All right. Well, please work on getting us off that list.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right.
Appreciate it. Well, while we got you here too, Sheriff, I learned last night there's a bill going through Annapolis, and I can't remember the number or the name, and I don't know what kind of legs it has, but it's one of the rare bills that actually funds one of our mandates, and the state will do a better job at paying for medically assisted treatment in our corrections facility.
That would be good.
Forward to that.
We actually have the warden testifying on a bill right now today.
He's probably very much aware of that bill.
And then there's another one coming up in restrictive housing that are, these unfunded mandates, we typically bear the brunt of a lot of those things. So we're working to try and get something that is a good idea funded by the state. That would be a welcome change to legislation that we've seen of late.
Good, very good.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Well, based on Mr. Hauser's explanation and the sheriff's comments, I'd like to make a motion to submit a letter of support for HB 1188.
That's to change it from, change it to shall cooperate with.
Shall cooperate.
I can second that.
Second, yeah, okay, you already seconded.
Okay. So we got a letter of support for 1188. First and second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Right. We will generate that letter. Hearing's not until March 5th, so we have plenty of time to get one and get Commissioner Guy's signature on it.
Okay.
Commissioners, barring any other questions or direction we can seek, that does it for today. Look forward to seeing you on the 25th.
Thank you, John, for your hard work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Back to you, sir.
You're done, okay? We're going to Commissioner's time. We're going to start with Commissioner Ostra.
Okay.
Commissioner's time.
Had a great weekend. Had my Commissioner Town Hall this past weekend. Had fantastic turnout. I was actually very surprised by the turnout. I had 55 people actually came and attended in person, and we had 57 people attending online. A lot of great questions were asked. We had the folks from Atlantic Realty came out and gave us a presentation on where they're at with the current remodel of the old Millicent Plaza, soon to be Patuxent Village. Also, to give us a look ahead at what Phase 2 will look like, where they are planning to build 91 workforce housing townhomes, which is something that is very needed in our community. Certainly its proximity to the base will be fantastic. Again, something that's really needed. We're also going to be the proximity to shopping. There's going to be an Aldi grocery store right there. There's going to be, they're looking at a child care center, having a child care center there as well, where the old AMC Theater was. The AMC Theater will be closing, I believe, at the end of March. They've decided not to renew their lease there, so we will have that building vacant, and they're looking into reconfiguring that into a child care facility with 8 separate classrooms and beautiful playground and space for the kids to play there. So that will be something, again, that will be great for our community. They're currently searching for, which is very difficult to find, a child care provider who is willing to come in and do that and staff it. So very difficult thing to find, but they are currently actively searching for that. Anybody who didn't get a chance to attend the town hall, it was, I did put it up live on Facebook, so you can tune into my Facebook and get a chance to see that and see all the questions that were asked and the answers that were provided. And if you missed the opportunity to attend and you still have some questions, feel free. You can email me, hit me up on Facebook, call me. I'm happy to have any discussions with anybody about that. So absolutely great weekend. I want to move on to, we're expecting a fair bit of snow. It's actually kind of questionable how much we're going to get, how little we're going to get. I've heard 2 to 3 inches. I've heard up to 7, 8 inches, but to just want to make sure that everybody stay safe. If you don't have to be out on the roads, please don't be out on the roads. We've canceled our budget work session for this afternoon because we don't want to encourage folks to be out there driving, perhaps getting into an accident and certainly getting in the way of either emergency vehicles or snow plows or anything like that. So, One thing I would like to comment, it's just a snowstorm, people. There's no reason to go and wipe out all the grocery stores of milk and eggs and everything like that. So it's a snowstorm coming in. By all means, if you need things for your house, go pick them up. But make sure we're being considerate of our friends and our neighbors, who may have small children and things like that, who also need to get to the store and get groceries. So if you don't really need it, don't just grab it just to have it. So ask everybody to stay safe, stay warm. Please, please, please check on your older neighbors, your elderly neighbors. Make sure they have what they need. If maybe somebody can run to the store for them before this snowstorm hits, and make sure that their houses are secure, so that they make it through this okay. We've got to look out for our seniors in our communities. With that, I'm going to pass it on.
All right.
Alderson.
Thank you. So this weekend was my wife's birthday weekend, so I did not say anything last week about Commissioner's Time, and luckily for me, she does not watch my Commissioner's Time, so I'm a little bit off the hook on this week. So I do want to say happy belated birthday to my wife, one, and two, I want to send my regrets to Mechanicsville Volunteer Rescue Squad for missing their installation. I want to congratulate all the new, excuse me, line officers and new auxiliary members, and I want to thank all the outgoing officers for their service to our community. And I look forward to speaking with you guys next year and throughout the year upcoming. So there was a football game or something played on Sunday evening.
Or something.
It was.
It was or something.
Well, I went on Facebook and I was going to do my little template, mark safe from having to watch that, because I did not watch the Super Bowl. I think it's the first time I did not watch a Super Bowl in probably 30 years. Can't believe I'm that old to begin with. And here I am to live to tell the tale that I did not watch that Super Bowl, because I'm not a huge fan of the Chiefs. And to say that I'm not a huge fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, it would be a gross understatement. Being a diehard Washington fan, that's just the way things are. So if your team won, yay. If your team didn't, well, it's always next year. So this morning we did our recognition ceremony for our volunteers for our boards and commissions. Those people put in a lot of time, and I truly do thank them. They do provide an invaluable service to this board, and I've never run into anybody on any one of those boards who was not willing to answer any of my questions that I would have. And luckily for us, they are not afraid to volunteer their opinions, which we do take those opinions under advisement and just help with our decision-making process. As you saw, there were several people who wore many hats who were on several boards, and I applaud those members especially, but I would like for the people out there watching to maybe think about volunteering for a board there. You might have some insight that we don't have that you could share with the community to make us get to the goal where we need to provide the proper services for all of our citizens in our county. And we're always looking for new volunteers to come to all these boards. And working in conjunction with the volunteers on the boards, when Captain Moses was up here talking this morning about the Everside and and HR and everybody working together to work for add a new member using salary savings to the sheriff's office. And I did make a comment about all these county agencies working together, and I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. We do have a lean county government, but the good thing is, with being lean, we can work to accomplish the mission quicker, because everybody is not layered in bureaucracy where we can't talk to each other. The sheriff can call me up and say, Commissioner, I have an issue with this. What do you think? And I can reach out to the other commissioners. Hey, what do you guys think? And we can get stuff done. And I think that's a true testament to the staff that we put together and the services that we provide to everybody in the county. To go along with that, I want to thank John Hauser for coming off the bench this morning and filling in for the presentation of the accommodations for Diane. I hope her knee feels better. A torn meniscus is it's an easy injury to get over, but it's just a pain in the butt to deal with to begin with. I've got my scars to prove that one. And Fourth Circuit judge came up. I know Commissioner Hewitt brought it up last week. There's legislation to bring a Fourth Circuit court judge in the county, but we have a vacancy now, and we only have 2 judges working now. And the thing that concerns me about that is the cost that it's going to push on the county. First, we had to do the improvements to the courthouse to accommodate the courtroom, then paying for the judge, and then paying for the support staff. And that's where a lot of, I think that gets overlooked a lot, the amount of support staff that goes with doing that. And I would hope that the state doesn't push that on us, along with the other $2+ million of new costs that they're pushing on us. We don't need an additional $1.5 million. So I would hope they would rethink that. And finally, just if it snows, it snows. If it doesn't, so be it. Just be safe. Use your brains out there, and have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Colvin.
Very good. I'm going to start off by saying I'm ready for spring. I would not be upset if this snowstorm skipped us today. We've seen enough snow this year, I think, but we'll see what happens. I did notice just now that Patuxent River Naval Air Station, the base, has put out a staggered departure, but an early departure for all their employees to try and get people off the base. So they're closing early. Essential people, of course, have to stay, but just hopefully the traffic, I'm sure the traffic will be interesting on 235 and with all the schools closing. So take it slow, be safe. I do want to touch on Mechanicsville Volunteer Rescue Squad. Had a great installation of officers over the weekend, and just it was great to be able to be there with Commissioner Hewitt. We had a really good time at their dinner, and we're appreciative that they invited us, and they're doing great stuff. And then we talked about it a little bit today. Commissioner Alderson just touched on it, the county budget, and it's incredibly dependent upon the state budget. We're not having our budget work session this afternoon, but I've got budget numbers in my head, very rough numbers, but looking at the big picture right now, we have our current revenue estimate is about $9 to $10 million more in revenue than what we expected last year. And if we look at that, we've already allocated about $1 million of it to emergency services. We have $2 million of it needs to go to debt service. We have a $1.4 million reduction in income tax revenue if the governor's plan goes forward. We will have increased pensions for teachers at $1.5 million. We have roughly $400,000 or so in SDAT costs that could be pushed to us, $500,000 for a new judge. It's not leaving a lot of wiggle room. There's not a lot we're going to be able to do in this budget, so we just need to make sure that everyone understands how tight this is going to be. I think it's important to note that we're going to do what we can for all of our priorities. We're going to try to address what needs to be addressed. We have met every promise we've made so far when it comes to the schools, when it comes to our Board of Education. The state is the one who has backed down on those. So we'll see what they decide to do at the end of the day. There's a lot of talk that the delegates don't want to slow down on the blueprint for education, so we'll see what happens with that. But there's just so much uncertainty right now. We can't make any early decisions. We have to wait and see what the state's going to do, and then we will be able to adjust and make our decisions from there. Ending on that somber note, hope you have a great week and stay safe in the snow.
Thank you. Commissioner Hewitt. Hey, thank you. Well, went to the Mechanicsville Volunteer Rescue Squad, and like Commissioner Colvin said, it was a great evening. Now, what I thought was very, very insightful, SIGHT for me, was learning about 2 incidents they responded to. One was a 16-year-old young man who had just recently got his license, involved in a terrible accident, and one of their volunteers happened to come on the scene right away. He was instrumental in saving that young man's life. And they talked about they had 4 people actually triaging this young man, and And again, they actually saved his life. It was great to hear his father talk about, you know, how hopeful they were, how, you know, thankful they were, and those people are doing great things. There was another young lady there who had been involved in a burn accident at her home. And again, Mechanicsville Rescue Squad was the first people on the, actually, I think our DES people. Bottom line was, these people were there to help her and get her out of a very bad situation and essentially make her recovery so much faster, and she was there to thank people for that. These are great stories to hear about our rescue squad and our fire department organizations. This week, the Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary is sponsoring their all-you-can-eat breakfast. It'll be Sunday, the 16th, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Obviously, more food than you can probably eat at one time. It's always great. They do a great job, but it's a good people to support. Now, I have seen people posting about how they're challenged by trying to get back to work with the new federal regulation that they have to go back into the office on base. And I get it, you know. Look, the traffic's tough. Getting them gate 1 or whatever gate you're getting in can be tough. I guess the key is to leave early. Just understand that you're, you know, in there now with, 10,000 people trying to get on base. Hopefully we can work through this thing and get us done. Lastly, I want to talk about, we're going to be closing early today for snow. And I saw a post that said, you know, why are you closing early? The snow hadn't even started. The key is safety. Last thing you want to do is have a lot of traffic on the road, base traffic included, local traffic, when the snow hits. It's supposed to be slippery conditions. We don't know how much it'll be. But look, we have to err on the side of safety. Because if somebody gets hurt, something happens, and we want them to stay just a little bit longer, it's not a good way to run a government. So I support that. Thank you. Enjoy the snow.
Thank you, Commissioners. Once again, a shout out for the snow coming up. Supposed to be the heaviest. It's supposed to be actually this afternoon through tonight. So I'd advise everybody to please, if you haven't done your early shopping, get it done right now. But stay off the road. Give our crews, we got some outstanding people out there that'll be working late tonight, clearing the roads and getting us ready for tomorrow. So for those of you listening, please do that. Stay home. And hopefully you got enough food and whatever you need, resources at home to take care of your family for the next couple of days. But it looks like the event will turn into actually rain by late tomorrow afternoon, and then right into all through Wednesday and into Thursday morning. So hopefully this will be a bad event for this evening. No doubt it'll be bad for the commute this afternoon, so be careful. With that being said, we've moved our budget work session until the 25th. Almost a double work session, so there'll be nothing out this afternoon. I think most of our county and employees and everything will be able to leave and go home, except for those that need to be here in emergency services, whatever. But it'll be an afternoon today. So with that being said, we're getting close to that now. I want to get our commissioners home and everyone else. So we'll close our meeting at this time. Adjourn.